Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Burning Hands Football. We're going into week 5 and we're a quarter of the way through the season already. So we're going to go through each position and see, guys that we like that are really low on the boards and then guys that are really high that we're thinking about like selling or think that are overperforming at the time. So what position do you want to start with? We can start with whatever you like, Hinty.
Let's go ahead and start with quarterback. It just makes sense to me.
All
We'll
right.
start with you. Um,
So let's filter that. Do you want to go ahead and start or you want me to
yeah,
start?
I'll go ahead and start here. We'll start with people that I'm like on board with. Sam Darnold. I think that Carolina is going to continue to do what they've been doing, and once he gets CMC back, I think he'll be even. I think he'll go back. I think he'll just be just as good, if not better, because having him out there gives you more points. Um, So I'm a buy on Sam Darnold. And then down here, it was kind of shocking whenever I saw it. You have like Herbert, Prescott, and Rodgers pretty far down on the list. And I think all of them will start turning around and moving up that list. Um, so who do you like off the quarterback list that isn't?
So I actually liked Darnold as well. I don't have like a ton of views on the quarterback, but I was down Jones and Darnold, and I was looking at Jones, and uh, yeah, I just couldn't still can't really buy it. It's almost just the scoring aspect, like he's getting the yardage almost, but it's crazy how productive Darnold is. But when I look down, there's still like I'm surprised to see Burrow this low. They're becoming like this defensive team almost, and I'm surprised that they're not putting up more points. That'd be like a player that like I'm thinking about taking, especially he just got dropped in our league. And then you never know with like Mayfield or Wentz, but these are guys that I'd like keep my eye out on, and then Bridgewater a little bit, but like injuries, just stuff's not really working out it seems. But once he's had like a couple productive days, it's not like he's terrible, but he's just obviously not healthy. And then Mayfield, there's if Landry and Odell come back like fully, maybe, but those are guys I'd keep my eye on, but don't touch anytime soon, really.
I'm not. I think those guys in the right matchup might be good streamers, but I don't think they're anything special. And I agree
Yeah.
with you on Daniel Jones. I don't see what he's been doing. I can't imagine that continuing.
I still think Burrow might be a guy that like is decent to invest in, but QB is
I
kind
think
of boring.
I think
Yeah.
Burrow in the second half will have a much better season, but I mean he's still figuring out how much he can trust that leg.
And he's still a rookie almost. I mean, what he played like
Yeah.
6 games last year or something, so it's not like he's a seasoned guy. All right, so let's head over to running backs. Let's filter this back up. Henry is back on top, and Cordell Patterson, as we all expected, is third.
Oh yeah, we were all predicting him to be third at this point in the season.
I thought he retired. Uh, so what do you like? What don't you like?
So players that I really like, there was one that the one that stood out to me is Javante Williams. I think that he will, as the season progresses, continue to get more and more touches. Um, like I know, like right now they're doing like almost a perfect 50-50 split between him and Melvin Gordon. That's Jamal Williams.
Oh, whoops. Yeah. Boom.
But Javante Williams, like right now, him and Melvin Gordon are getting 50-50 touches throughout the game. Um, he just looks so good out there whenever he runs. Um, like especially like I think Gordon will be there, but he's always had injury issues, and I think he's gonna miss a couple games. And I think once that happens, I think Williams will probably take over the bulk of the workload after that. So I think he's a great running back for the rest of the season. I think he'll like really just jump up the charts.
Yeah, he had one crazy run last week. That was just
Yeah,
ridiculous, like breaking all these tackles. And he has like one like every week. It's just a matter of like, can he get the touchdowns? Is he consistently getting like the touches? And then also, it might be a little bit of a slog for a little bit because this Denver team's just so beat up. Um,
yeah.
so I'll throw one that I think that people should like keep two that the people should keep their eye on. That's I'm like Tyson Williams, like yeah, his touches have gone down, but I feel like it's too valuable of a player to like give up on, especially when it's like
Yeah,
Latavius Murray and Le'Veon Bell stealing touches from him. Like,
I don't understand it.
yeah, I get that a little bit, but like you're telling me that like in week 11, 12, 13, 14, he might not take like he might take the like it's I think he'll probably take the job or at least get like more touches, and it's worth just holding on to him on Baltimore because Baltimore is just like they're always good. And then the other one I was looking at was Clyde. And after he had those two big, like he looked disappointing at the start of the season, but now they're like really running the ball. Um, and like last week was like insanely 200 yards rushing. I just think that like they had that poor start with him, and then they sort of lost confidence now. But I think that they'll like go back to running the ball after like this weird shaky start to the season just to sort of stabilize things. So like we could see him jump back into the top 12.
That's fair. I have three running backs I'm down on. With me being up on Javante Williams, that means I'm down on Melvin Gordon, just de facto. Um, I'm still out on James Robinson. I do not like Jacksonville, and I don't think he's going to have the same production. I know this past week he had a great game, but like that's not going to continue. Like he's still going to get the touches, I think, but like I don't know. I find it hard to trust that team, especially just with it's just a shit show.
It'd be nice to just see if Urban gets fired and then see what you can do with him. If
Yeah,
the new coach has like a different plan, he's like a guy that like I wouldn't want on my team, but you can't really get rid of. You know?
yeah. And then obviously, I think both of us are very much under the same impression that Patterson's not going to stay at the number three running back all year.
Yeah,
Um, I think I do think he's like you can flex him and probably play him every single week. I think he's done enough to prove that. But I like he's not an elite running back, and he's not going to stay up there. And
yeah,
my one that I think people will disagree on is I'm like if I had Jonathan Taylor right now, I think I'd trade him. Um, like that offense just doesn't look good with like Wentz is not good and he's not been playing great there. He had the big game against Miami, but I mean you look at those numbers outside of that, it doesn't look great. And I just think that team's beat up and is gonna like they're missing two linemen now that they started the season with.
I know Nelson's now out, like officially, and they probably that I think they're probably missing their left tackle, but
Yeah.
they looked good
So
week one, but since then, yeah, it has
O
not.
line's getting beat up. Wentz isn't 100%, and Wentz isn't what we thought he's not what he was in his like MVP candidate year.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about the Colts is like a lot of teams like what the Colts are going through right now might like just like lose morale and sort of fall apart, but because they're in that division, I feel like they still do have a chance.
That is true.
But the
I
snap
do
percentages
think
are
that.
low for Taylor, man. 50%. And Cordell Patterson's way under 50%, and it's like all touchdowns. So
Yeah.
that's tough for a guy that's supposed to be an every down back. 50%. I mean, that's really a little scary. A lot of advice for Tony Beats here. All right. So I don't really have a ton for running backs, so we can just move on to receivers. Oh, actually, I have one. James Conner. Um, putting up like crazy touchdown stats the last 2 weeks. This would just be like a sell high situation for me. It just seems like it's everything's touchdowns.
Yeah.
Um, and they're this air raid. Like, yeah, he could end up getting a touchdown every week, but I mean, come on.
You're rolling the dice on a touchdown is what you're doing with him.
Yeah, and I usually don't like love to shit on people for yards per carry, but it's really low. And I know he's like a goal line guy, but it's like if you're hitting at threes, like not even like 3.9, that's like bad. And he's not. Edmonds had a huge game last week, so it's just like
Yeah,
it's
I agree.
He was a guy I was low on, and now he's like scoring touchdowns, which is nice. But I don't know. Not a guy I would like be thrilled to have. All right, let's head over to wide receiver, the more interesting position. Um, anything big you don't like or small that you really like?
Um,
Why is it
I'm
this?
really intrigued with Waddle right now, with Will Fuller out, and uh, like I know they just traded Grant, but like I think that you have a shot at him continuing to get more and more involved in the offense, and I think he's going to have more weeks like he did against Las Vegas with double-digit targets. And he's just a talent, like he's just a talented guy, and he can break one off at any point. So I like Jalen Waddle right now a lot.
I like Jalen Waddle
Um,
too, and I also like Parker, just with Fuller being out. The Miami
yeah,
receivers, eventually it's gonna start to regress to being better.
and then I for receivers I don't like Jamar Chase. I just cannot see this continuing. Um, like I don't see it continuing personally. Like
It's hard to see any like even a rookie continue to do this. So
yeah,
I mean, what goes up must come down. I feel like at a certain point, I'm the same way. And T Higgins has been out. Um,
yeah.
eventually, they're gonna start doubling if it continues. So I'm not sure if we'll see another Justin Jefferson. We'll see though. Um, so how about I'll go with one that I have up really high. I have Mike Williams. He had a low week last week, and he's just going to be a touchdown guy. Like it's going to be 50-yard touchdown, and if he gets that, and it just lucked out that did that like 3 straight weeks, and he's injury prone. So like I'm not willing to sell him for like anything cheap, but he's still a really good, like solid receiver with like a really, really high upside. But they're just
Yeah,
the low floors.
I agree with that. I think what he has been doing is basically what he's going to be doing all year. And with Herbert, I trust that offense. So I think more often than not, you're going to have the touchdowns and the yards with him. So I think you're pretty safe with him. You're going to have those duds, but every receiver has bad weeks.
Yeah, I just don't see him holding wide receiver five. I could see like 15. 15 would be nice, but
I think he'll finish top 12.
all right, we'll see. We'll see. It's an interesting little note to remember. Anyone else on your side? I can keep going,
So
but
I had three question marks at wide receiver that I just kind of want to just go through real quick. Debo, he's extremely talented, and I think if he stays healthy, he can continue doing what he's doing. I know, granted, this last like 75 or 70 of those yards and a touchdown were on a broken play, but I think that like I'm not sure what to think of him because like is he actually going to be healthy now? Like
yeah, it's a risk, and it's like it's. I think it's clear that he's their best offensive weapon, even like above George Kittle now. Like
yeah.
that's how they value him. So it's like San Francisco's a weird team in fantasy, man. I like tend to stay away from them actually. So I mean, that's a guy that I don't see holding three, but he's gonna be up there.
And then my other two were Hollywood. Um, like he's been killing, like he's been doing great so far, but Lamar Jackson's been throwing more than he like ever has, and I know that part of that is the fact that they don't have great running backs right now. But like, is this like something that Marquise like has Hollywood finally emerged? Because I know he didn't start off great last year, but he finished the season like really well. I think he had a touchdown 4 out of the last 5 games. He's got 3 out of 4 this year. Like it's not a passing offense, so it's hard to buy in.
Yeah, but I feel like it's like him and Mark Andrews, and that's it. And he's looked great this year. I mean, if you just catch balls and against Denver, I mean, he would have had double digits every week. I love Hollywood Brown right now. Like, I love Hollywood Brown. So, like, if you Like, I'm super high on the Ravens right now because the Denver basically just said we're not gonna let you run, and then they just passed it over their heads. And he looks good, Lamar. Lamar looks really good. Like he's missing a couple, but I mean,
I mean, my thing is you do have Bateman coming back. Like Bateman should be starting any time now, and he's going to cut into receptions. I don't know. I just
potentially, you never know.
it's hard. I feel it's for me. It's hard to buy in, but he's been doing great so far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Brown's gonna be that speedster anyway, so he's not gonna like totally lose his touches. It might not be 10 targets like Kansas City, but he's still gonna get like 5 or 6
Yeah,
primo, like big time chances. So,
and then
um,
my last one is Hopkins. He's not been doing Hopkins things so far this year. I know part of that is he's been a little banged up, but they're winning without him, and the offense is clicking without him being without him demanding double digit targets every week. Um, like so, my question is do you think Hopkins stays in like this 18 to like this wide receiver two range, or do you think he gets back up to wide receiver one? Because I think the Hopkins of wide receiver one might be over this year. I think he might be a wide receiver two because AJ Green's looked good, Kirk's looked good, Rondell Moore's looked good. I think they're just spreading the ball around, and that's how they're playing the best football. And I don't see them hyper targeting Hopkins.
yeah, and they're throwing to like their tight end, who I'm like pretty high on, and then Edmonds is also basically like a running back that's a receiver at the same time. But I do think he'll move up a little bit, but I don't think we're seeing top five anymore. Like I think you're seeing between like 8 and 20. I think
Do you,
it.
do you think he finishes in that top 12, or do you think he falls out of it this year?
I think he will. I think that the one thing about Hopkins is like, I mean, he's dinged up now, but compared to the other guys, he'll probably stay healthy. I mean, Green is probably like down to go down at least like a couple
Yeah.
games. And then Moore's a small dude. Like, you don't know how long he'll last. Edmonds is pretty small. I think he got a little bit banged up last year. Um, I think he'll get his eventually, and I think everyone else is like the Cardinals are just like on full blast, like just going crazy right now. So I think eventually they're gonna see some adversity and they're gonna have to turn to their guy. Like Hopkins looks like Diggs right now almost. It's like this amazing first year with
Yeah.
a new team, and then now it's like okay, settle down a little bit. I wouldn't worry too much, but it's disappointing. I mean, for a guy that you definitely draft in like the top 15 to like not even be a top 15 receiver
Yeah.
is tough. Um, Let me look back. I was super high on Hollywood Brown, but I think there was like two other guys. Ah, yes, C.D. Lamb is like surprisingly low. Um, from what I thought, 30. Yeah. So like, I love C.D. Lamb. I still think he'll like get his touches. It just seems like something's just not clicking all the time with like Dak and his receivers. He's like going to that tight end stuff a lot and Pollard. And like Cooper got a couple big plays last week. They barely like threw the ball, but I think Ceedee Lamb's
I
gonna
think
like you go.
I think a part of that is I think Zeke is I mean those 2 weeks that you see. I mean week one you can't run against Tampa, so they threw constantly. Um, Chargers, he didn't get the touchdown, but that's still a good stat line there. Like 9 targets, 8 receptions, 81 yards.
Yeah,
Um, but I mean, the past 2 weeks, Zeke's gone off and had pretty great weeks personally. So I think a lot of it's just going to be that, and it's just a matter of who ends up getting the touchdowns, who ends up getting the points, and if they can run the ball, they're probably not going to throw too much, and like it's just like game plan basically. I think he's still extremely talented, and I think he'll probably finish as a top 24 wide receiver. But you're going to have those down weeks with CD because that offense has so many weapons.
yeah. It feels like there's a lot of teams like that, and like the other guy that I'm going to at the end here is Robert Woods. I just think eventually he's gonna have to like get more and more production out of the offense. Like it just feels like Cooper Cup's running everything through him, and eventually people are going to start taking notice to that, and Robert Woods is going to get open. He hasn't been bad. I mean, 10, 9, 5, 12, but
I
you're
think
expecting a big day at some point.
I think those stats that you see right there is probably what he's gonna have the entire season. He might have like a two touchdown game and then he'll finish with like 20 points, but I think you're probably gonna see him in that probably 5 to 13 point range the entire season.
I somewhat agree with that, but I feel like maybe it can move up a couple points per, and then he can go off like for a 20 every like 4 games. I still think that's possible. Only 29. It's not like
And they just gave him a big contract like last season.
yeah. And eventually, I mean, it's Woods and Cup, and like I think Van Jefferson's good, but I'm not sure if he's at their level.
Yeah.
But any more you got for the receivers?
That is those are my big ones. I mean, I have other ones, but I think those are the big ones.
Okay, we will head over to tight end, and let's just start with I think you had one that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about Schultz because you're not in on Schultz and I am in on Schultz, and he was also picked up by Kuzi, so I think it's something to talk about. Um, I mean, 6 targets, 7 targets, and 8 targets. I know he had the 2 target game, but like those are pretty solid stats right there. Um, like that's really what all you can look for in a tight end is those targets, and he's getting looked at in the goal line, which means he has a great chance of getting touchdowns. And if you look at, I'm blanking on their other tight end's name.
Jarwin.
Oh yeah, Jarwin. Uh, yeah, uh, he's he's not getting the same target level. I think Schultz has emerged as like the primary tight end there, and with that, I think you're probably going to see 5+ targets the rest of the season, which you can't really ask for anything more. He's probably not going to have 2 touchdown games, but you know, 6 targets for like 50 yards, like that's a decent game. And then if you throw in a touchdown, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, I am like a little bit surprised by the targets, but like the one thing whenever I see like tight ends go for like a lot of touchdowns, I always get like skittish and say, oh, they can't keep this up because tight ends like there are some tight ends
Yeah.
that are like red zone threats and like will get the touchdowns like Antonio Gates and stuff like that. Like even like George Kittle and like some big time guys, like even like we're seeing like Waller, they just don't garner that many touchdowns. And I just don't know how much he can keep it up, especially with so much that's in Dallas. Like I still like him. Like if you have him, I would keep him, obviously, but I wouldn't expect like him to be entering into like the top tight end guys, like with Andrews and with like Waller or anything like that, to depend on,
I
especially
mean,
in Dallas.
that's a hard thing to like. It's a hard thing to put anyone in that category. And to be honest, I'd only put Kelsey and Waller in there right now. I guess and Gronk, but Gronk's hurt.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I think he'll probably finish right around where he's at. I mean, I think you might see Hawkinson jump him because Hawkins has had 2 rough weeks. Um, but if Kittle can figure something out, he might get up there, and Andrews is also up there. But I think that Schultz could actually probably finish above. I think there's a chance that Schultz finishes above uh, Kittle and Mark Andrews because Kittle's been struggling this year. He tends to get banged up, and you have the rookie quarterback coming in, and Mark Andrews just he's a touchdown guy, and that's kind of what you're looking at with Schultz. So
I still like, so one of my guys was Mark Andrews. I just think that he's such a fixture that offense. Eventually, he's going to get his touchdowns. And the fact that he hasn't got any touchdowns, and he's still doing, 5 receptions and getting good yardage, like, and he just got paid. Like that. That's a guy that like I'm like considering trying to maybe go after if someone doesn't really value him the same way. Because you know what you're getting. Because a lot of guys with these tight ends, like I feel like Schultz will be more susceptible to like these low end games than Mark Andrews, even though he had that one. But like, I mean, he's
yeah,
still pretty decent. Like
I mean, I really think there's
performance.
only two tight ends that you can say will not give you dud games, and that's Waller and Kelsey. And even Kelsey gave you a dud game this past week.
Yeah, tight ends are tough. Anybody else you want to talk about?
I think that's everyone.
All right, so let's just go back into last week. We both did pretty well, right?
Yeah, we both went 5-1. Uh, so we both ended up switching on one game. I got the Connor Lestrange over Kuzi. You picked Kuzi, and I picked Lestrange. Lestrange ended up winning that one. And then I picked Snowball, and you picked Nick P, and that one was within a point, or I guess just over a point.
Yeah,
So
Nick
I was
P.
very close to 6-0 last week.
Nick P 2-2 despite losing his top two running backs right away. It's pretty
Yeah,
impressive. And then one shout out to just Herrera. I mean, 179 points is ridiculous.
yeah.
Um,
His team is scary.
yeah, I had Tyreek in one of my leagues, and it's just nuts. Uh, all right, so let's head over to this week. Let's start with. I'm going with Lestrange, so we'll just go down the line from here. What do you think about me versus Lestrange? And make you a little smaller on my screen.
So we both said that we're buying in on Sam Darnold, and I am, and I think you got a good setup because Mahomes does play Buffalo, so that should be a good game and give you a chance at having a maybe not quite as good of a Mahomes game.
Yeah,
Maybe not a 30-point game. Maybe he only puts up like 24, in which case I think Darnold can probably keep up. Uh, you saw what like Kamara can go off at any point, and Washington hasn't been the best, and you saw what Patterson did to him last week. So um, as long as they throw Kamara the ball, because I think he had 0 targets last week, um, I think you'll have a pretty good chance. And Metcalf for Lestrange uh, should be getting covered by Ramsey. So
yeah. One thing he should probably do is move Metcalf over to the flex, like you say, just because questionable for Thursday is
yeah,
always scary. Because I did that with Carson. Got a little scared. I'm surprised that Mahomes is projected for that much versus Buffalo, who has two shutouts this year. I know it's Mahomes, but still. And one thing I've just been seeing, anyone that plays Washington, like I was considering picking up Jameis Winston just for this, but Winston's just been not, reliable enough. But Washington, like, it's just like the quarterbacks go off for like 30 every week. It's like absurd how bad that
yeah,
Washington defense is when they were supposed to be amazing. I'm not like too daunted by this like projection that he has over me. I love this. The two defenses have like I love both these defenses like a ton
yeah.
this week. So I picked up Tampa Bay in one of my other leagues. But I'm gonna lean towards myself, have that confidence. My only worry is really like Chris Carson, whether I'm to drop him and throw in like either Parker or I was looking at someone else, probably Johnson.
Yeah, if Deontay is healthy, like I
Yeah,
think that you gotta play him.
and I think Sertan might be out, so that will probably help even more. Denver might be like a team that Pittsburgh could actually beat because they're so banged up. This sort of surprised me. He picked up Ricky Seals Jones to like either today or yesterday. Made no sense to me.
Yeah, there's a lot better tight end options out there than him. I
I
mean, I know
guess yeah,
like Thomas went out with the injury, but like even still, like I don't like. I mean, I'll just look at the tight ends that are available right now. I mean, Jared Cook's better. I would rather play Conklin. Max Williams is a better pick. Like, there's just better picks out there. Even Evan Ingram's a better pick up than that. Like,
yeah.
it's
I guess he was saying, oh, then he'll get all the touches because Logan Thomas is hurt. But I don't know if you'd want to play that, especially when I have McLaurin and McLaurin's Heineke's other favorite target, and just steal all that, and that just all that points goes my way. But
yeah,
it's an interesting strategy. We'll see if it works out. Um, Anything else you really see that you like or dislike about this?
Um, I'm just looking at this. I think that also Knox is going to be incredible this week. Um, I think I'm actually going to pick you as well. I was leaning towards the Strange at first, but I think you have the advantage at tight end, and I think it's a big advantage because Knox has been amazing so far this year, and I think it's going to continue.
Yeah, that
And
was that was a lucky pickup by me. I was like, why not?
yeah, I picked him up in another league, and I'm very happy I did.
Yeah, I feel like it's been
Um,
forever since like a Buffalo tight end actually broke out.
yeah, and he has Eckler going up against Cleveland. Like Eckler should still pick up points, but that Cleveland defense is really, really, really good.
Yeah, the
So,
front's nuts.
I mean, I think that you have a really good. I'm leaning towards you in this matchup. So, knock off the unbeaten, get rid of the strange at 4-0.
Let's do it. All right. Now we're going off to your game, and you're having a tough season. Wait, what
Yes,
just happened here? There we go.
I am 0-4. It's a pretty rough season. Um,
Going against
Tannehill
Herrera.
going against Herrera, who, as we said, put up 179 points last week, and Derrick Henry gets Jacksonville this week. So,
Oh man.
uh, he got Derrick Henry against Jacksonville. You got Rodgers against Cincinnati, Jefferson against Detroit. Um, I'm just gonna go ahead and say I'm gonna lose this week, and I'm probably gonna start 0-5. And thank God there's an extra week of football because I might need that if I'm gonna make the playoffs with this team.
Yeah. I have Montgomery going down, man. Unlucky stuff. It's sort of hitting you on every end, and Kittle just being so underwhelming this year.
Kittle's been
Um,
underwhelming. I played AJ Brown those first few weeks, and he was dropping everything, and he left the game one week and gave me like 3 points. And I played Ryan Tannehill, thinking he was going to play better, and he's been very underwhelming. So, hopefully Trey Lance starts this week, and he does what he did in the second half, both half this week, and I'll be happy with like a 50-point week from Trey Lance, and then maybe I have a shot.
yeah, you never know. I like the really gambling with everything here. Just giving it all you got with Trey Lance.
Well,
Um,
I will also say that this my team as it stands right now is not going to stay. I'm dealing with the issue that they currently have David Montgomery listed as doubtful, so I can't put him on my IR.
yeah,
And because of that, I have a player on my IR. Uh, who is it? I have AJ Brown, who they have listed as questionable, so I can't make any lineup changes until either AJ Brown gets ruled out or David Montgomery gets ruled out, so I can throw one of them on my IR and make some roster moves. But Javante Williams and Tim Patrick will be out this week, and I'll probably be throwing in Damian Williams, who I just put 55 fab on, and I'm thinking Kadarius Tony, who had a pretty good week last week with 9 targets. So
yeah. Everyone got hurt, so maybe Tony can get some touchdowns against Dallas and like a whatchamacallit, like a track meet. But it'll be
yeah,
interesting. I'm picking Herrera,
yeah,
but
I think that's the. I think you'd have to be an idiot to pick me in this one. So
yeah, I mean Henry versus Jacksonville's like 30 points right there, so that's tough. All right, good luck, NT. We're gonna go to Stein versus Beats, and Beats is giving it his all, as we can see.
yes, threw a message in the group chat, and I sent him a text last week telling him he needs to update his roster. Um,
Not doing it.
just just throwing this out there. This might need to become a 10-person league next year because there is someone else who we'll get to that is also not setting their lineup.
Yeah. Well, the one play we'll talk about it later. But who do you like from this matchup?
Obviously Stein. I mean, Tony's not starting a lineup, and with that, that means he's not going to be playing a tight end. He's not going to be playing Johnson. I guess Johnson's going to be playing, but like both of those guys are going to put up basically 0 points. Um, and Stein's team is honestly kind of underperforming, even though he's 4-0. Um, like, I don't think Gibson has done everything that I thought he was going to do this year. Najee's actually done exactly what I thought he was going to do this year. But Ridley's not done anything, and Hawkinson's had two pretty bad games the past 2 weeks. So,
I sort of expected that from Hawkinson. That's why I've always been afraid to draft him. But yeah, Ridley's been like a huge disappointment. I thought like a lot of people thought that he was gonna like become one of the top receivers in like the league. But again, it's just a shame. Antonio's team is dope. I mean, I love Prescott. I love Clyde. I love Cooper. I love Cup.
yeah,
Um,
I wish I had Tony Beats'
Jonathan Taylor.
team and just make a few changes there, and that team is much better than 1-3.
Yeah, but we're not gonna waste much time. I guess we're both on Stein's side. Hard to go against David Johnson and Gronk, but I'm gonna do that. All right, let's go to Whoa. Chris Gregg versus Snow. Okay, Snowball doesn't have a QB in yet. All right, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
Snowball played Burrow last week. He's going to go back to Herbert, I'm assuming, because he dropped Burrow. Um, I
So that's
mean,
20 points.
yeah.
Still pretty big.
Uh, I,
Uh,
I mean, I think Snowball probably wants to change his defense, get Juju out of there, throw in Jacobs, or if he wants to, as a Hail Mary, throw Ruggs in.
or
I
more.
don't think you can. I don't think you can start more right now. He's not had quite the same hype that he did starting off the season. Um, I think you're probably safest to put in Jacobs because uh, I think that the Raiders end up beating the Bears this week, and Jacobs does much better in games that they win.
Yeah,
So,
and they're gonna have to run the ball against them. So
so I'm gonna lean towards Chris still though, because I mean Murray's been fantastic. You have Aaron Jones against Cincinnati. You have Cordell Patterson against the Jets. I just think that he's kind of set up this week for another pretty solid week. Um, yes, and the defense is a big one. Like New Orleans against Washington is going to do much better than Buffalo against Kansas City.
yeah, so I'm actually gonna lean towards Snowball here in a surprise if he switches Buffalo, because I think McCaffrey might actually play this week. He's supposed to test it out today, Wednesday, and see if he can go. So I think he's actually might be able to go, and that's gonna be a huge switch. And I don't really mind Juju that much against Denver. I think Denver's so banged up that like people can move the ball. And there's a good chance Robinson has a good game with against Las Vegas. Vegas is like an okay defense, but they're nothing special. And then CeeDee Lamb, like it could be a track meet. I think Carolina versus Eagles is going to be like a kind of high scoring game. So if you keep Sanders in, I'm not sure if I'd put Sanders. I'd put Sanders over Fournette. I don't think I'd put Fournette over
I
Sanders.
think I'd go Fournette over Sanders.
Really, I don't know, man. I think Sanders just the ceiling so high. Um, and then I do like Mark Andrews again. Like I know Waller, but Waller, I don't know, man. Like it's crazy to me that I feel like he's just not targeted in the red zone more. And after that week one, it was just like everything's been a little underwhelming. But it's hard to match 19 targets, I guess. But
I mean, you can't really be mad at like 9-7, and I didn't see the last point total there, but like,
yeah, 13. I mean, he's he.
yeah,
I'm not like worried, but I think Mark Andrews could outperform him this week.
yeah.
It's possible. And try to make things interesting. I think if McCaffrey plays, we got a good chance at our hands at a big
I've played
time
Snowball
upset.
the last 2 weeks and he's lost, and I'm just not gonna get burnt on it again.
Well, I'm taking Greg down a peg. So the last one we got, actually, we got two more. two 0-14s back to back. We got Rob Matz versus Nick P. Nick P making one of the greatest comebacks of all time with no running backs.
Yeah.
What do you see
I
here?
mean, James Conner has gotten those big touchdown weeks, and I think those have been it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably going to end this week. Um, I think I'm actually going to go if everyone on Rob Matz's team starts and he changes the defense to not be playing Kansas City against Buffalo, maybe puts in Hollywood, just does something with his team. I think Rob Matz can win. Even if he doesn't, I think that Julio can probably get on the field, and with this team, he'll be able to do enough to potentially. I think he'll probably not probably, but I think he'll end up winning this week, just because he does have a good base to his team. It
So you,
sucks that our two people who do not play have pretty good foundations to their team.
yeah. So are you definitely picking Rob or on the contingency?
I'm gonna pick Rob regardless.
Okay, I'm picking Nick P just because I don't trust it. Sonny Michelle, like, he went negative points last week, and then he lost James White, and he just needs to make a trade, man, because
Yeah,
his running backs are just a mess. I mean, who is Tony Jones?
it's
Uh,
the backup for Kamara.
yeah, Tony
And I think
Jones
I think
sounds like a
even
fake
you went
player.
down last week.
Yeah. Well, it says he's out. Yep. So
Yeah,
he
he's
needs to
out
find
three
new
or
running
four
back.
weeks. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, he should talk to some people. I mean, Corey Davis is like looking at for like decent enough to get something, I guess. But I guess he's. I mean, do you start Geo or Sonny Michelle? But I don't think it really like. It's tough that Josh Allen is now going against Kansas City, but Kansas City's defense was not what it was the last time Josh Allen played. So we could see a shootout, and that could be like a huge portion of his points. Um, I can kind of see why you're picking Rob Matz here, but whenever I go through his team, he puts Devonte Adams in the flex, and that totally changes everything once I see him in the flex.
Yeah,
You see 18 points out of nowhere. I'm just gonna hold the line with Nick P going 3-2, despite having literally like nothing at running back. And it's not like his. I mean, he's Adams and Woods, but it's not like his receivers are outstanding either. Um, all right. Let's head on to the last game. This one is at least pretty close.
yeah.
Smart and Kuzi. And Kuzi still has one player to put in at tight end, so he's down 8, but I don't think he's going to be able to. Going to be even.
And he's putting in. I guess he does have two tight ends. I mean, would imagine he's probably putting in Schultz. Otherwise, he would have Freight kind of put in there already.
Yeah.
Um, just going through this, looking at it, think I lean towards Kuzi. Um, I mean, Chris Smart's team is good. It's. I mean, we talked about it. Diggs and Hopkins, we both said have been underperforming this year. Um, I don't think that changes yet. I think Diggs might have a good week, but I don't think Hopkins has a breakout week. And Davis just has been very underwhelming. And I mean, Barkley looks like rookie year Barkley right now. And if they continue to use him in the passing game, um, it'll be pretty special.
Yeah, I think Mike Davis is going to have to put up over 10 points and like get a touchdown. Basically, that's what he needs to like
Yeah.
equalize Barkley. But I think Swift could have a huge game versus Houston. I think they had like a couple people on the COVID list on whatchamacallit. If he has something like he did like his first 2 weeks, I mean, he had that fumble against Miami that could have like been a touchdown. Could have been up like around like 15. But if Harris can put up like 15 versus Houston, they just run the ball because they're up big or they trying to like. I mean, it's Houston. You're just trying to like be simple and win the game. I think it's possible, but I disagree. I think it's less likely that Diggs is a big game and more likely Hopkins because that San Fran DB core is just done. Like they're just in the hospital. So I think that could be like a big week for them. And then you got, Cook's going against New England against Belichick. Is he going to put up any points? I mean, he's still good, but Belichick knows Cooks, and they did cut Gilmore literally like right before we recorded this,
Yeah.
which is crazy. But I think eventually, it's always funny. I feel like the Falcons, just because it's the London game, some shit always just goes wild and something's different. So I could see Pitts or Davis like get some points finally for him because that's really what's the issue right now for Chris
I
Smart.
mean, for for Pitts also. I mean, Pitts like it sucks because he's not fallen into the end zone yet. But I mean, he's had the targets. Like he looks good out there. I think like he just needs him to fall in the end zone. And I could see that happening this week.
Yeah, and then I also really like the defensive matchup. I'm not crazy about. I don't know why Dallas has 9 points versus the Giants. Um,
Daniel Jones likes to turn the ball over.
but he's not turned the ball over this year. It doesn't really seem like he had like one bad fumble week one, but besides that, I mean, he had an interception last week, but it was on a Hail Mary at halftime. But Baltimore versus Indianapolis, I really like. Injured Wentz. I think they could like put up some serious points. Whether I think
I
that this
mean,
could be like a track meet.
I like the Dallas defense for fantasy because I mean they're especially in the league that we have because we're not basing it off of yards that they give up because as you can see they love to give up yards over there. But they have playmakers and look at that. Two interceptions, and a touchdown, two interceptions. You get a couple sacks in there. Like that Dallas defense is not good by like just general talent. Like
They're okay and they make some big plays, but I feel
yeah,
like
they have playmakers and that's what you need for a fantasy defense. So
yeah, I just don't see 5 sacks because Carolina's O line's like garbage. Turns out Andrew Thomas has only allowed like one pressure and no sacks this year, which is crazy. And then Diggs gets an interception every week, and eventually that's got to stop. I just don't see they're number 5. That's crazy. I just don't see that holding up, and I could see
I
it
mean
be more than 1 point.
I don't see it holding up, but I mean I think that the Giants is a perfectly fine matchup, and I think that they'll probably stick pretty even with whatever Baltimore does this week.
Yeah, and then I mean if Mixon is healthy, he should play, but it's weird he's doing Diggs and Beasley.
Yeah,
Um, but I guess Diggs has been underwhelming, so hopefully Beasley does something. But I don't know. I don't know if I do that. Just put in, just give it one go. I feel like putting multiple players on one team is tough. Running back and tight end's a little bit different. But all right, you got anything else? You're picking Kuzi.
yeah, I'm picking Kuzi.
I'm picking Smart to finally get his win, which is surprising. 0-4. That surprises me. All right. You have anything else? Anything you want to go over with the
I guess we didn't really go over the waiver wire.
55?
But I mean, I wasn't sure what other people were gonna put up, and I needed to lock up that position. Like,
You got it.
so
This one
that's
was
what I went with.
Schultz.
Um, I mean, that was my big one. I don't think there's too many other like super interesting things.
Josh Gordon's
Like,
interesting. That could come up to be something. I like the Tony pickup, and I just did like this one was also weird. I mean, we talked about that, but I just did 0 money. I'm holding on to my budget because I think it's just you and they have the budget here. You have what 20? Oh, he has 26 left. And then you have 18. It's gonna be a tough go. Whereas
I
Beats
mean,
still has all his money.
well, yeah, Beats is gonna have all of his money at the end of the year.
Stein surprises Mr. Surprising has all his money. Stein not willing to spend a cent.
Holding on to it.
All right, man. I think we're good for the week. Anything else you want to say?
I think that's it. I mean, I will be. Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, man. We will see you guys next time.